Right, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Come equipped this time, rather than last time. So something came out of, something really important came out of yesterday's interview with Stephen Whitney. And that is, when it comes to breath work, yoga, calisthenics, in fact, any practice, don't hold yourself so accountable and in a rigid fashion that you stick to a very specific disciplined routine. Now, I've fallen into this trap before and wrongly assuming that it was the right thing to do. So you may remember me saying in other videos, every day I wake up at a certain time, 5:30. I do my Tibetan Rites yoga routine. I then do my breath work. I then do my cold shower. I then have my black coffee, etc., etc. Now, all of that is fine. However, I was so rigid and religious in this that if I didn't do it, I found it difficult to get through the day. In other words, my psychology was wrongly stating, you haven't done your routine, therefore you're not going to feel good. So herein lies the issue and a lesson that I've learnt that actually, and this is where actually something else that I'm doing at the moment is, in fact, I'm almost qualified, hopefully should be qualified now, something called a flow code. I will be a flow code coach, don't you know? And the whole idea of that is to optimize your brain and body to encourage more experiences of flow every day. But the idea is that it's your intention to the flow, in other words, how you go about your day, that will dictate how often you experience that flow state. So what do I mean by that? Well, you should therefore have a number of tools, if you've been following my journey, that are very good change state creators. So, breath work, amazing at changing your state. Yoga, amazing at changing your state. All of these tools are really useful in the moment at either a point when you think, I feel rubbish, therefore I will do this and I know I will feel better, or as a preventative measure, knowing that by doing these regularly, you're going to optimize your brain and body. But don't, in my opinion, and this is what I've learned, don't fall foul of the trap of thinking that you have to do all of this specific stuff every day at the same time in the same fashion. The intention about how you go about your day, in other words, engaging your senses, and this is why I've invited you here on my dog walk on a live session today. So what we've got here, I'm sitting, hello, I'm sitting on the local stone-built wall amongst the fields, the sun shining. So many of my senses are being engaged. I can touch and feel. I've got this kinesthetic sense going on. I can touch and feel the weather. There's a slight nip in the air. The sun is shining on my face. I can hear the sounds as you can, apart from my rambling on. You can hear the sounds of the birds. There's skylarks tweeting away in the background. So I'm engaging my auditory sense. I am engaging a chemo-sensory sense because when I'm walking, I'm breathing in a certain fashion and therefore encouraging neurochemicals to flow. This therefore becomes a method of going about your day with ease, making use of and engaging your senses in order to optimize your brain and body. So from now on, I may well do that same routine of the morning, but if I don't do it, I won't fall into the trap of thinking that it's a bad thing. And in fact, what I will do is, let's say I wake and I decide I will just do one of those things. When I'm ready, I'll then follow it up with a breathwork session, or I'll then follow it up with a run, and this is the other thing. So what I've learned is something called transient hyperfrontality, which is a rather convoluted way of saying closing off your prefrontal cortex, because when you shut down that PFC, the prefrontal cortex, it's at that point that your brain is ready to enter the flow zone, the flow state, because the rest of your brain can then start activating, because it's freeing up the energy. This prefrontal cortex that does so much of our daily activities, it's a really useful tool to have. It's not particularly useful when you want to enter a state where you're totally in the zone. So when an athlete, for example, is ready to start a race, and they have this complete tunnel vision, they can see their end goal, they're in the flow. Their prefrontal cortex has learnt, or their brain has learnt to shut that down. Sometimes that flow zone only starts when you're exercising. You could be running and automatically you have this flow because your brain has stopped that chit chat and everything slows down. Your auditory sense only picks up perhaps the sound of the cars or of nature. But your brain, that monkey mind, slows down and begins to dissipate and eventually disappear because you've entered that flow zone. So I think these are really, really important lessons for me. I've learned them over my 3 years, and more recently I've begun to take it easy with my routine, but knowing that all I have to do, it's a bit like the high intensity incidental physical activity that I mentioned on another video. Incidental is the key word. If you go about your day thinking I need to push, pull, lift, then you don't think in terms of exercise. You don't have to think in terms of exercise because you know that you're going to go about your day much like those people that live in the blue zones around the world. So anyway, I hope these are important lessons to pass on. They've been really useful for me. I'll be bringing more details on the stuff I've learned on flow code. I'll drop a link below for flow code actually, because you might be interested in taking that course yourself. Or indeed, you don't have to take the course, you can learn some of the lessons anyway. Now, one other point, and I'll mention this on a few more videos. So my brother has just created something called the Wellness Database. And this is a specific database for all practitioners, be it yoga, breathwork, whatever it is, so long as they fall into the camp of wellness, then get your details on there. It's totally free, it's free to use, it's free to have your details on there, but the idea is that it will work in a similar fashion to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, if you've come across that. So people can deep dive. Let's say they want to find inspiration from an influencer, they can do a deep dive, specifically putting in meditation. They can find somebody that does meditation on YouTube, for example, and then they can scroll down to see if they do any classes. So it's this deep dive that you can do on various different people that have both online and offline classes. So worth, if you're a coach, getting your details on that. As I say, it's totally free. It's called thewellnessdb.com, and I'll drop a link for that too. Anyway, Evolution of Dave signing off. Thank you.